late at night in the soft candlelight as it casts its warm glow on the pages, and the words that he sees are the secret, the key that has kept us alive through the ages.
Why does he cherish the wisdom of old and delight in its study each day? He knows only Torah can nourish his soul. Come listen and hear what he says.
Ay, 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 vos og beis Hillel, vos meint beis Shammai, Rova far vos als du nit wie Abaye. Torah, without you I surely would die. Lulei soira vos Shashua.
Vos klert Rabbi, vos tracht Ravash, Pshat kemen tref in eilige Rashi. Torah, you've given my spirit to me. Ki yivom, ki yisoni. As a nation in flight, we endured the world's spite and the sight of our precious books burning. We ignored our grief to the world's disbelief and never, no, never stopped learning.
Why does he cherish the wisdom of old and delight in its study each day? He knows only Torah can nourish his soul. Come listen and hear what he says.
Oh, you must give Rav Chisda, Esivei Rav Bope, Seivu der Rambam, Firtois Psak Aloha. Torah, without you I surely would die. Lulei soira vos Shashua.
Arisho in Zakashe, Nachro in Zaspore, Chochma Saboire, vos liegt in Gemore. Torah, you've given my spirit to me. Ki yivam, ki yisoni.
Yaakov, ki yisvu lachem, es ashiro azois, ve'lamedo es bnei Yisroel.
Yaakov, ki yisvu lachem, es ashiro azois, oy velando es bnei Yisroel.
Oy Torah achdoisho, ischaneni b'makosho, oy bnei Yitzur show yo yo toira wagdo show is khaneni bevakosho is khaneni yo bevakosho
toira wagdo show is khaneni bevakosho binele itzum naros bidusho yo 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 I toira wagdo show is khaneni bevakosho is khaneni yo bevakosho
is khaneni bevakosho bnei tzuvur narot bigdusho yo yo toira wagdosho is khaneni bevakosho is khaneni yo bevakosho
Binele itzur narot bigdusho toira wagdosho is khaneni bevakosho is khaneni yo bevakosho
strong to voice unquestioning faith and everlasting song to say Shema Yisrael to serve Hashem without fear dream about the day when all the world will hear
to live a life of Torah stand up righteous and strong to voice unquestioning faith and everlasting song say Shema Yisrael serve Hashem without fear dream about the day when all the world will hear. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad.
Hashem Elokeinu es divrei soiroscho befinu Ayu befi yoisamcho beis Yisroel Amcho beis Yisroel
Soy roscho befinu Hayu befi yoisam amcho beis Yisroel Amcho beis Yisroel
Oy veni Beis Yisrael, kulanu, kulanu, Yidei Shemecha, v'lo hinei seirasecha lishmo, yo yo.
Oy v'niyeh anachnu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, yamamcho, Beis Yisrael, kulanu, kulanu, yo yidei shimecho, v'lo yidei seirasecha lishmo.
Hashem Elokeinu, es divrei seirascha befinu, v'yuvefi yoisavcha, amcho Beis Yisrael, amcho Beis Yisrael.
Oy v'niyeh anachnu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, yamamcho, Beis Yisrael, kulanu, kulanu, yo yidei shemecho, v'lo yidei seirasecha lishmo.
Oy v'niyeh anachnu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, v'yivtzetzoreinu, amcho, Beis Yisrael, kulanu, kulanu, yo yidei shemecha, v'lo yidei seirasecha lishmo. Rachel knew her man was strong, cutting, chopping all day long, but he was turning 40, he couldn't read. He trimmed your tree and make it down, married a woman so divine, and she'd be the one change history.
Chase your dreams, don't wait for me. A man must face his destiny, and I can't wait to see. Grab each letter as it comes, word by word is how it's done, line by line, it'll work out fine.
Ay, 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 Akiva, Akiva. Greatest sage that ever lived, had a tough time as a kid, you see. He was turning 40, he couldn't read. They stood together like a poem by the river near their home, 'cause what you see is meant to be. He saw soft water, rock and stone, maybe Torah reached my bones, and I changed destiny. I'll grab each letter as it comes, word by word is how it's done, line by line, it'll work out fine. Winter's day, summer's night, Rachel sat by candlelight. She could wait forever graciously. Came back to town a little gray, 1,000 students in his way. She was in the back so patiently.
Held a crown for all to see. I can never teach what she taught me, and I learned bravery. I grabbed each letter as it comes. Word by word is how it's done. Line by line, it'll work out fine.
Oh, chase your dreams, don't wait for me. A man must face his destiny, and I can't wait to see. Grab each letter as it comes. Word by word, it's how it's done. Line by line, it'll work out fine. Ay, 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 Akiva. Ay, 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 Akiva. Akiva.
Simcha Elohim Kefrayim Chim bin Hashem.
Da 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 da.
Simcha Elohim Kefrayim Chim bin Hashem.
Da 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 da.
Yevorechecha Hashem. Yovei Hashem pono velecho vichuleko Iso Hashem pono velecho Yosei lecho sholoi
Ay 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 yivarechecho Hashem v'yishmerecho Yovei Hashem pono velecho vichuleko Iso Hashem pono velecho Yosei lecho sholom. V'yishmerecho Yovei Hashem pono velecho vichuleko Iso Hashem pono velecho V'yosei lecho sholom.
Yevorechecha Hashem v'yishmerecho Yovei Hashem pono velecho vichuleko Iso Hashem pono velecho
V'yosei lecho sholom.
My name is Mendel Wilhelm. I'm from Crown Heights.
My name is Menachem Mendel Nemes.
My name is Mushki Tovel.
I live in Westchester, New York, and I've been studying through JNet for about a year.
As a kid growing up in Olei Torah, I always saw the JNet booth. I never knew what it was. So when I was offered to do JNet, I jumped at the opportunity.
It was the perfect thing for me to do, just one day a week. I'm able to connect with one other person.
I started to see stories of Rabbi Yudi Dukes. I said, I can commit to studying just a couple hours.
I think I just felt that Yudi never gave up and he kept on plugging through. He believed so much and I really wanted to give back even though I didn't feel like I had anything left to give.
Well, aside for when teaching things, you gain much more clarity. Dealing with people from different backgrounds gives you such a personal connection with them.
I think the number one thing that I gained was having a connection with another person once a week. You just really get to know another person, and it's very, very, very powerful.
Such a good feeling for me to go out and express myself and teach stuff that I love to do, and I feel the great zchus I have to do this.
I have always been comfortable studying different things, but I recognized that there was this massive gap in my ability to sit down with a daf Gemara and just study.
The knowledge and the accomplishment of feeling successful after finishing and learning, and the friendship that I share now with my partner.
Every Thursday at approximately 12 o'clock, I call my guy, Steve Katz, and we discuss the Parsha and we discuss world matters according to Judaism.
Honestly, meeting my chavrusa every week and seeing that huge smile across her face and the energy that she has to learn, because that's really what inspires me to learn and to keep going.
My chavrusa came to Crown Heights and I took him around all the offices and we went to a restaurant together. It was a lot of fun.
No matter how busy work gets and what's going on with the kids, I've got it in my calendar, kind of get free of the concerns of the world around me, and I'm just focused on studying and focused on learning a little bit more.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's program of completing Yudi's dream and taking JNet to the next level. Tonight's mission and goal is very clear. JNet, for many years now, has been facilitating Torah study between partners under the leadership and vision of Yudi Dukes for quite some time. And tonight, we're pushing it to the next level with 3 specific projects that were the brainchild of Yudi, which he very, very much wanted to get off the ground, to really bring the entire experience and bring the Torah study to entirely new frontiers. And tonight, our goal is to raise $500,000 to make that vision and that dream a reality, and to continue Yudi's legacy and keep him alive for all time. Now, Yudi Dukes was a very devoted leader and very dedicated to the cause and to his shlichus in spreading Torah learning. Now, we all know the importance of Torah learning. If there's anything that the Jewish people are known for, we're known as the people of the book. And it's literally our life. The Torah itself says, Ki heim chayenu va'erech yomenu. That Torah is our literal lifeblood. And if there's a single occupation, if there's a single thing that's important in a Jew's life, it's learning Torah. JNet brings that to countless people in a real and personal way. Sure, of course, people maybe attend a class, people could listen to a lecture online. There's all different ways that Torah has been made accessible, especially in today's explosion of information. But JNet harkens back to the age-old, time-honored tradition, and indeed the most impactful one, of bringing a personable chavrusa study, one-on-one, with someone who you know and develop a relationship with over time, to really bring the Torah study into your mind and, more importantly, into your heart. We all know that setting up a set time, what's called a kfiyas itim, for learning Torah, is something that the Rebbe pushed countless times. Innumerable amount of times. On one Simchas Torah for bringing in Tavshim Memhei, The Rebbe spoke passionately about this. You can imagine the energy in 770 on Simchas Torah, which is a day which we celebrate the Torah and we dance with the Torah. And perhaps other people will spend the day dancing and singing and clapping, and that's of course what we do as well. But the Rebbe would fabring in addition to that. And at that Simchas Torah fabring, and the Rebbe spoke about the importance of setting up a chavrusa, setting up a study partner with someone else. And the Rebbe said further that when you know someone else, there's a lot of things that you should be able to come across, to suggest to them. There's so many things you could tell someone else or invite someone else to do vis-a-vis their growth in Yiddishkeit and even in your own. But here the Rebbe said something interesting, that when it comes to Torah study, setting up a kfiyas itim, setting up a Torah partnership, the Rebbe said like this: there's no place to mix it with anything else. It's too important to sacrifice spending time to talk about anything else while you're talking about that. So if you meet another Jew, or if you know someone else in your circle of influence, or whoever it is, and you have a window of opportunity, if you have your one shot, your one elevator pitch to that person, the Rebbe said, don't do anything else. Ask them, do you want to learn Torah with me? That is the singular most important thing you could do with someone else. Because again, Torah is our life. And when you offer that opportunity to someone else, it's literally the biggest favor you could do to that person. And as we're going to see over the course of this evening, it's not only to that person, it's the biggest favor you could do to yourself as well. And that's what we're trying to do here tonight. JNet has been offering that opportunity and facilitating those partnerships for years. And Yudi stood at the helm, pushing, plotting, leading, guiding in every which way. But there's so much more that we could do. If everybody you know hasn't yet heard about JNet, if everybody you know is not yet set up with the Chavrusa partnership, that means there's still much more work to do. And that's what we're going to do tonight with our projects that we have, with the projects we have in mind that you could be a part of, and that you could be an integral part of continuing the dream that Yudi had, putting a smile on all of his family's face every time those projects are put into place and are realized into fruition with the thousands of partners that Yirtzeit Hashem will come about as a result of our efforts here tonight. Now the story's told about a wealthy Jew in the shtetl, and as the custom was back in those days, is that if you had a little bit of gelt, what you wanted, the most coveted position, the most coveted thing that you'd want was a son-in-law who was a ben Torah. A son-in-law was a Talmid Chacham. So he travels to one of the major Torah centers in Europe at the time, and he walks into the Beis Medrash, he walks into the yeshiva, and he says, I am willing to give all expenses paid. I'm willing to fund the scholar who can answer the following question. And he presents a question in the Beis Medrash, and he says, whoever answers this question, I will take him to be my son-in-law. Of course, things worked a little bit differently back then. And all expenses paid for the rest of his life. And of course, my daughter, with whom he shall, God willing, live. And for 3 days, he set up shop in the Beis Medrash, and no one could answer the question. It was a very, very complex question in the Talmud, and he obviously wasn't going to give away such a large amount for anything. No one could figure it out. One student after another presented their ideas, nothing. Disappointed after 3 days with no luck, he says, all right, forget it, I'll try the next terrorist center. And he goes off. As he's in his wagon on the way out, he sees a poor, impoverished, not so intelligent-looking young man necessarily running after him. He says, wait. He says, what do you want? He says, what's the answer? Forget about the money, but I want to know, what's the answer? He says, I want you as my son-in-law. Because that's how we have to approach Torah study. We have to want to learn Torah. It has to be important to us, and it's our life. And we have to share that gift with everybody else around us. Without any further ado, I want to welcome my first guest, the director of Merkaz Suite 302, under whose umbrella JNet and many other programs operates, Rabbi Mendy Kotlarsky. Welcome, Rabbi Mendy, Rabbi Kotlarsky. It's good to have you with us here.
Good evening.
So, I would imagine you probably know a little bit more about how JNet started than I do. So, why don't you give us a little bit of the spiel of what, well, I wouldn't say it's a spiel. Give us a little bit of the backstory of how JNet got off the ground.
So, today has been a very, very emotional and special day. Yudi and I go back close to 17 years working together. JNet was the brainchild and actually one of the outcomes of the Kinnes HaShluchim. Everybody sees every year the Shluchim come together and they celebrate the Jewish world and the impact that Shluchim have on the Jewish world. And there's sessions and there's general sessions, workshops, seminars, networking, and obviously the gala banquet that everybody has come to know. But every year, there is also 1, 2, or 3 ideas that come out as the hachlata of the kinnos, the resolution of the kinnos. And I don't know if it was 17 or 18 years ago when they were planning the session and looking around as to what was needed in the Jewish world at that time, they recognized a niche that was unfilled in the Chabad world, and that was that many people interact with Jews only one time. You're sitting on an airplane next to somebody, the boys travel in the summer, you knock on a door, excuse me, are you Jewish? How do you turn that one interaction into a long-term impact? Or on the other side, many communities were blossoming and many Chabad centers were growing, and there were many people that wanted different opportunities than just the regular classes that were being offered in the Chabad center. And therefore, the achlata of that year's kinnis was to establish the Jewish Learning Network that served this purpose. It brought together a brilliant group of people that have learned their whole life, but instead of becoming rabbis or shluchim, went into business, but were educated just like rabbis were and have so much to offer, so many members of Anash, so many members of the religious Jewish community, and we went out on a campaign and asked them, give us a half hour of your time, and you adopt somebody who either wants a little bit extra learning or somebody met once and is just starting their journey. They could be living in middle of Thailand. They can be doing a stint in Bangladesh or somewhere else. And it was really fascinating. Thanks to the help of the Rohr Family Foundation, we were able to establish this under the first director, Rabbi Yossi Refson, who brought it to fruition and brought Rabbi Yudi Dukes on board. And then when he moved on Shlichus, Rabbi Yudi Dukes really took this over and ran it ever since. So that's a little bit of the background. A lot of times people say that New Year's resolutions disappear in a heartbeat, but it's almost 18 years later, and JNet has educated tens of thousands of people, both the teachers and the volunteers.
Wow, that's great to see that. I don't know how many people realize that those resolutions are made, and not necessarily everybody sees what the next step is. So it's remarkable to see how long-lasting it really can continue. So tell me a little bit about you mentioned you're tapping into the broader religious community. So what are the credentials for the teacher side of the partnership? Are there credentials? How does that part of it work?
One of the things that the Rebbe would constantly push, and Yudis would make a campaign of this all the time, was that if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. The beauty of the Chabad philosophy is that, and really the Hasidic philosophy, is that every person has what to offer. And over the years, I would watch Yudi so selflessly and so carefully approach anybody and everybody, and first of all push them to take on some time, to volunteer some time. This was really, his family was his priority, and his wife and children were everything to him, and he really gave it his all. But this was his shlichus, and the support that he received from Sarah and from the kids in his shlichus meant the world to him, and gave him the ability to really build JNet into what it was. And he would go from person to person, and we would have coordinators, and obviously we would have to match people up. There was a whole process. It's not just so simple as find somebody. There is a whole list of algorithms and systems in place to make sure the right people are matched with the right students, and that they're followed up with, and that they have the right amount of learning that's supposed to go on. And obviously, if you couldn't take on learning time, or even if you were able to, you would push them to support a chavrusa, to sponsor a chavrusa, to sponsor 10 chavrusas. There's a tremendous amount of administrative and educational costs that go into JNet. And Yudi really took it on like a champion, and this was his whole life, his whole shlichus.
Yeah, I mean, I know even from my own casual encounters in Crown Heights, he definitely strong-armed me more than once to taking up a chavrusa, which I actually have books in my own shelf that I bought because of my JNet chavrusa. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So you obviously have a much better look and an intimate look at what goes on behind the scenes and running such an organization. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on tonight and what are a little bit some of the plans?
Look, I think that whoever is in this room knows it and appreciates what Yudi and Yudi's family put into this shlichus. But for those watching and tuning in, whether it being volunteers who are teaching, and to us, I'll just say the beauty of JNet, there's on so many different levels. The volunteers are gaining just as much as the students. This is a age-old idea that more than the person who takes benefits from what is being given to him, the one who gives benefits. So both in the teaching sense, like you said, people who normally are in business, people who are preoccupied, I've heard from so many of them, tens and tens of people, to tell me that I know that I have every week this half hour that I need to prepare for, I need to study for, I need to be there, and I become at that moment the rabbi for a few minutes. And it changes not just those few minutes, but their entire week. It changes their entire lifestyle, because now they have someone who they are responsible to be an example for. And at the same time, especially over this course of Corona, the people who are studying, for many of them, they develop a connection and a relationship that's unparalleled. Like you mentioned earlier, there are many organizations where you can go online and watch a video, you can go online and read an article, you can go to even classes and sit in a room with 30, 40, 50 people and listen to a share, and you can benefit a lot. But the Taylor education, the mashpia, this part of life, the impact that JNet has, I believe, is unparalleled in any other organization. And that's what's so important tonight, where we're really charging on and creating a new platform where there's an interface where people can actually communicate it and share a library and be able to educate each other, expanding into different languages, Hebrew, Spanish, other countries like Australia, where they have their own cultures, and making this tailored on a local level. And so many of the other projects, the 120 Chavrusas Lilo Nishmas, Eli K, who was Hashem Yimkum Dama in Eretz Yisrael, the different achlatas, those are really, and I heard so many times from Sarah, Rabbi Dukes, how much this meant to Yudi. And these ideas, these are all things that Yudi wrote out. He wrote out this plan. And tonight, the $500,000, the $500,000 that is being raised tonight is going to realize Yudi's vision to make his shlichus complete to the next level. And that's what we turn to everybody who's watching and say, please, donate. Share this with your friends. Get involved. We really need each and every one of you to help us reach this goal. It's very ambitious. It's not something we would normally do. It's very out of character. But for our friend, for our colleague who gave his whole life and was an example and inspired the entire world through that process, together with his wife and his family, it's the least that we can do back for him to make his dream become a reality.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Kolarski, very much. That's I'm not sure if many people realize the type of logistics that goes on. Just to, Rabbi Kolarski threw it out about generating and creating a new platform that could bring it all together. The impact that such a sophisticated platform could have would really take things to an entirely new level. And we really hope tonight to be able to bring that project along with the others to the finish line. Yudi, among many, many other things, was dedicated to everything he did. He was famous as a Bal Korah who read the Torah proficiently, fluently, and he knew every verse in the Torah by heart. You could quiz him, and you could start him on any verse in the Torah, and he'd finish it off for you. In that context, as we'll see, I think, I'd like to welcome our next guest, Reb Hanan Knox, who I believe knew Yudi quite well.
Yes, thank you.
Hello, Hanan. Thanks for coming. So, like I said, you did know Yudi quite well, very well. So, before we get there, just give us a little bit of just a brief background of your story. I understand that you probably didn't grow up looking just like that.
That is an understatement. I know the night's about Yudi, but I do want to say there is a saying that behind every great man, there's a great woman. And I will say, if it wasn't for Sarah pushing me, I probably wouldn't be married tonight. So thank you, Sarah, for everything that you've done. Your support behind Yudi, of course, is just unparalleled. But to give you a little background, I come from New Jersey, Union, New Jersey, and many people may or may not know, some in this room may know, he did Mifsoyim in Union, New Jersey, when he was at Morristown. I don't know if I met him or not. I was probably, I don't know, a little kid back then also, around his age, but I wasn't roaming the streets looking to put on tefillin, I'll just say that. But I grew up Jewish, going to a conservative synagogue, and unfortunately, my father also passed away when I was young, right after my bar mitzvah. And I looked up to my older brother. And what did he do? He went into business. So then when I went to high school, I took business classes. And from there, I decided that I would go to college into business. And it was in that journey that I met somebody that asked me if I was Jewish. And then they brought me to a Chabad house on Simchas Torah. And I'll just say the rest is history.
Okay, the rest is history. We're going to have to hear the history at some point. But let's pick up the thread of that history as it relates to tonight. So, like you said, you know Yudi and, of course, Sarah. How did that come about? It wasn't on your stomping grounds in Union. So where did that happen?
So I started going to Chabad in Brooklyn Heights, where Rabbi Raskin is, Simcha Weinstein. That night of Simchas Torah, I met a gentleman, a young bucker at the time, about 16 years old. His name was Beryl Lerman. He was up on stage giving a speech. I thought he was the rabbi. I was like, wow, pretty young guy to be a rabbi. So my friends were actually friends with him. So at the time, I spoke to him. We said l'chaim, had a little to drink. To make a long story short, my friends kept inviting me back to Brooklyn because at the time I was living in New Jersey. And they told me that that young guy, Beryl Lerman, his father, is opening up a shul in Crown Heights. Why don't you come? Why don't you hang out? So then they started calling me every Shabbos and every holiday. And I liked it so much, I decided to actually stay for an actual Shabbos and sleep over and not take the subway back. And eventually, I decided to make the move to Crown Heights after I decided that I wanted to keep Shabbos. And a young man named Yudi Dukes was the Bal Korah. And we became very friendly. And just like he said, if you don't know Aleph, he wanted to teach Aleph. I want to say I knew Aleph, but I needed to learn Beis, Gimel, and Daled. And he made sure that I understood everything on my pace. And from there, we just grew into such an amazing friendship that he brought me over to his house. I met his kids. I went out with them on family excursions. And it all started from Yudi being a Bal Korah at Beis Levi Yisach.
Wow. It's good. Simchas Torah is always a good place to start also. So,
absolutely.
I understand as well that Yudi was intimately involved in the wedding, and I believe that you even have a child named after him. Is that true?
100%, yes. So, there was a lot to think about, but I mentioned that I grew up. My father passed away when I was young, and I'll just say my mom wanted to walk me down the aisle, and there's a custom that a groom's father walks his son to meet his bride. So being that my father wasn't here, and I was good friends with Yudi and Sarah, Yudi and I spoke, and Yudi said that it would be an honor, and I was honored that Yudi could bring me to greet my wife to the Bedekim. And it was an amazing event. It was beautiful. And you think about everything that he's done, and there's no way to thank him besides everything that we see that's going on with all the different projects, and that's why I wanted to be more involved with his legacy, with this event, with the projects that are coming up. We all know that tomorrow night is the anniversary that the Lubavitcher Rebbe decided to become our Rebbe, and who better than Yudi, who we know there's stories about everybody that went to the Rebbe, gave him all their problems, even if they said there was too much work or there were too many projects. They didn't know how to handle it. The Rebbe said, take on another project. So here we are tonight. We have 3 projects. Yudi was always about the Rebbe, the Rebbe, the Rebbe. How could he bring Mashiach? How could he thank the Rebbe? How could he do more for the Rebbe? So here we are. I just wanted to say, Yudi, I'm here to help you. Just let us know what we could do to help you.
Wow. Oh, man. Wow, Hanan, that was special. Thank you. So that's yours.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Kenan Hara. His full name is?
Yisrael Chaim Yehuda Halevi.
Beautiful. Okay. Now,
and if you notice, just like Yudi always has a smile, this baby, for some reason, he always has a smile.
Baruch Hashem, it should always be that way. Remember that, he's going to keep you to it.
Absolutely.
Now, and he's not the only one. Baruch Hashem. There are other children as well who have been named Yudi in Yudi's memory. And I want to read out some of the messages that the parents of those children sent to Sarah after they named their children with that name. So Yedidya Moshe Keller. We named our son after Yudi as a reminder of the strength I got from you and your husband and your emunah in this journey. This is Yehuda Mordechai. We would like to think our son will have the strength to bond Klal Yisrael like your husband. Yaakov Yehuda. We had in mind your husband, who I knew as Yehuda Dukes. Moshe Yehuda Aronson. We feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to honor Yudi with the mitzvah of naming our son after him. And may his memory continue to inspire and bring the greatest revealed light into the world. Moshe Yehuda. We named him Yehuda to thank Hashem for this miracle. We should live to emulate at least a small percentage of the incredible person your Yudi was for the world. Chaim Yehuda Rosenblatt. We named our new baby boy Chaim Yehuda after Yudi. In Yirtzeh Hashem, he will have at least a fraction of his namesake's Chayes, Avish Yisrael, and Yiras Shamayim. Thank you, Hanan, very much. You should have a lot of nachas from your children, Yehuda, and all of your other children, Be'ezer Hashem. At this point, I'd like to welcome back the musicians to the stage for our next musical presentation. And remember, please go online at yudislegacy.com and help us reach our goal for tonight, and hopefully past our goal before the evening is even over. Now, 10 years ago, by the International Kinus HaShluchim, as we mentioned before, there's achlatas, resolutions that are made. One of the resolutions at this particular Kinus HaShluchim was for shluchim to pair up with each other and just check in on each other and always give each other what we call chizuk. So Yudi was paired up with a shliach from Stanford. His name is David Hardener. And over the years, as we all know, Yudi was definitely dedicated. So they developed a very close and beautiful relationship, a beautiful friendship. After Yudi passed, David composed a song and music for his friend, for the loss of his dear friend Yudi. Please welcome Benny Friedman to sing this moving tribute to Yudi.
It's not the same when you're not in. Pause in conversation, an echo of years. You gave us your struggle and blessed us with faith. You gave us your triumph and almost escape.
Learning to live, learning to give. Days are years until you're here again.
Her husband, their father, a soldier, my friend, healing the world from your hospital bed.
He said, give me this battle without all the pain. He said, give him one chance to come home again.
I'm learning to live, I'm learning to give. And days are years till you're here again.
Please welcome Mendy Dukes as he makes a siyum.
Everyone for joining. I've been learning Mesachas Talmud, which talks about the daily producers for the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. So we have a question. General, what is the why do we have to learn the halachos of the Beis Hamikdash if they don't really apply to us now? So one explanation is because each action that needs to be done in the Beis Hamikdash has a spiritual significance and can be practiced nowadays within a person's Avodah. The other explanation is that we are preparing for when Mashiach comes, and when the Beis Hamikdash is built, we'll know all the halachas then. So you see this also in the end of the Masechta. It lists the Shir Shel Yom, which chapter of Tehillim would be said every day in the Beis Hamikdash. And for Shabbos, they would say Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, and then the Mishnah explains that it's a reference to when Mashiach will come, which in days Mashiach it'll be like one long Shabbos. So the Mefarshim explain why does it have to stress on what the capital of Shabbos means? Like why does it have to say just explain as opposed to other Shir Shel Yom? So there's another opinion that somewhere else that says that the Levim would sing the Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos, referring to the fact that it's currently the seventh day of the week. So this Mishnah is coming to highlight the other opinion that they were actually singing about the future everlasting Shabbos, which will then be when Mashiach comes. There's what to celebrate about, there's what to cry about. About the Beis Hamikdash, I could cry remembering it, or I can celebrate having it by fulfilling the spiritual lessons that could be learned from the Beis Hamikdash. I can celebrate the knowledge that one day it will be rebuilt. Same for any losses we have. There's room for grieving what was lost. For celebrating what we have, all the memories that warm our heart, and what we were taught. And looking forward to a future where things will be unimaginably good. Which is also reflected in the pasuk of my father's kapitel, the last pasuk, which ends off with Baruch Hashem min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam. Which the reason why it says olam twice is to highlight and remind ourselves of Emunah, that beyond what we see in what we see in front of us, there is ultimate goodness and spiritual and material goodness that exists already and will soon be revealed, which is what the Mishnah ends off with, that the Levim were singing thousands of years before the coming of Mashiach. A Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos L'Yom Shekulei Shabbos U'Menucha L'Chayei Halamin. Hadron alach bisman shekayin gadol v'slika la Mesachas Talmud. Hadron alach Mesachas Talmud v'hadron alach gaitach. Yiskada v'yiskada shmer abo b'om l'dechor ziv yam chachos v'yatzmach porkan mikar mashichai chayechen michem chayv chavis Yisrael b'govos nakar v'imrambein yesh meir abo marach v'yalmom v'mayis brach shtavach v'yisbar v'yisram v'yisase v'yisadar v'yisav v'yislosh min d'got b'richo leilam kabrachas v'shasot v'shchas v'nachmas v'dam v'momov v'imrambein Yisrael v'banot v'mdei makot v'mdei makom andas marasi v'yasad divni v'chosar v'asar yelan achan shemar abachin v'chist v'rachmin chan richem z'en v'yichaf porkan mikal mavod nishmai v'imrambein yesh lam rabbi nishmai v'chan tevleinu kol Yisrael v'imrambein Yisa Shalom Imran Mavi Yasa Shalom Leinu Kol Yisrael V'imram Me'ein.
בוכה, רק אלוקים שומע, הכאב עולה מתוך הנשמה. אדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע, בתפילה קטנה חותך את הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, אתה כל יכול, נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל. בעיניי דיבה, הלב בוכה בשקט, כשהלב שוקט, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, עכשיו אני לבד, חזק אותי אלוקיי, עשה שלא אבחר. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח. הנשמה זועקת. אוי שמע ישראל אלוקיי, עכשיו אני לבד, חזק אותי אלוקיי, עשה שלא אבחר. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח. In a Winkel steht a Jid und weint, weint sein Kind in Milchome geht, und die Tränen wie Wasser gießen. Steht und betet zu sein Taten im Himmel. In a Winkel steht Tränen wie Wasser gießen. Steht und betet zu sein Tate im Himmel. Wie Tate, Tate, wie Tate, Tate, wir haben schon genug durchgemacht, und wir haben schon Oh Ovinu of Rachamon, Ovinu of Rachamon, Ovinu of Rachamon. Say Beni Benu Bino Leovinu Leyaski Say Beni Benu Bino Leovinu Leyaski Lishmoya Vilemoy Ulemame
Yudi was a very, very sincere person. So when you looked at him, you saw his MS, you saw the truth, the way he spoke to you, that he really spoke from the heart. He genuinely respected everyone with where they were in life, where they were holding, what they were doing, and he made you feel very good about yourself and who you were.
My first child, and I didn't know what to expect, but We got a beautiful child, and he was perfect.
So many things made Yudi special as a brother. He's the oldest in the family, the funniest. No offense, Ta.
When he encountered Gemara, he found it very, very difficult, and it upset him a lot. But then a new teacher came to town, Rabbi Zalman Leib Markowitz, inspired him to the extent that he became very dedicated and a dedicated student of Talmud and really got it.
And he was the first of many. Yudi made a point of seeking out teachers and making connections.
I was pretty young when he first went away to yeshiva in Benoit. Every single time he came home at one of the breaks, he would open the door and he'd have this just huge smile on his face, and the attitude and the spirit of everybody around just lit up.
The two things that Yudi was most proud of were his family and his shluchus. And he worked very hard on both of them. I remember when we were dating, he told me in regards to his feelings about being a shliach that he didn't care if he was hired to stack chairs. That all he cared about was being a shliach and doing this for the Rebbe. And when he got this job, there was not a single day that he took it for granted. Every day he walked in there, he felt a sense of pride that he was a shliach and that he's working in 770. He was proud to be doing JNet, and this really became his life.
Hello, everybody joining us from across the world. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I would like to welcome you to JNet's third annual Volunteer Appreciation Dinner, the network of more than 8,000 people from 80 countries learning in 8 languages. Just last year, we collectively have made more than 35,000 hours of learning possible, affecting Yidden all over the world.
I feel like my father's special because besides for all his work, he spent a lot of time with us. And like every day he would take us to school, and whenever we needed him, he was there.
He used to wake me up in the morning, and on Sundays, he made us pancakes. And I asked him, "Can I please have chocolate chips?" He said, "I'll put chocolate chips in only if you tell me that you're gonna say Tanya in the car when we're driving to school." He said Shema with me, and he began singing me this niggin, the Shamil niggin. I didn't know what it was yet, and I really liked it. And that became my favorite niggin.
Father used to make an effort to go to like class things. Remember like in 2nd grade, for my birthday, I don't think I was expecting to come. I remember being upset, and then later that day, when it was time for like the birthday party, I was not ready for it, and my father showed up and he gave out Reb pictures to everyone in the class, and yeah, that meant a lot to me.
I was doing JNet interviews at the time, and my phone starts ringing. I answered the phone, and there was Yudi's face, smiling at me, welcoming me to the team.
Oyevas Abrios. That was Yudi. He just loved people. People loved him. I think that summarizes Yudi. He loved them, and he brought them closer to Torah. I think the best way we can keep that legacy alive, that passion that Yudi had for every single Jew learning Torah, keep on doing what Yudi would want them to do.
Creating Yudi's legacy is more than just any specific project. It's about creating an institution, an organization that is focused on being kind, being compassionate, being caring, and helping every individual on their level for what they need. That was something which Yudi really personified, and if that's what we can create, then we have been successful.
But if God needs you, there's some purpose out there that you need to accomplish. A mission. There's a reason that He put you here. And if you haven't accomplished that purpose yet, that makes it all the more important for you to continue living and to give the world the gift that only you can.
To spend a half an hour a week, an hour a week learning with each other, that is a way that we can continue His legacy, is to keep establishing such sessions and expanding them.
Every single expansion for JNet, to JNet, whether it's $1 extra or one new chavrusa or one extra Torah session that is being learned, does so much for JNet and does so much for Yudi.
Wow, that was really powerful. Rabbi Mikularski, welcome back. Please tell us what we're holding with our goal for tonight.
Well, this is really so heartwarming to watch the campaign live. I mean, the first hour we're at $117,000. This is real. You can feel the energy. People are really stepping up. But we have a long way to go, and we really want to say thank you to some of our key donors that stepped up to the plate early on. They weren't waiting till the end. I mean, first of all, the platform, Raisathon, and the entire team deserve a huge thank you for being with us and setting it up all along. David and Malki Smetana for the Yudi Dukes and his family. They've always been there, and they came up again. $25,000 to get this off going on the road. Thank you so much. Yehuda Marazav with $1,800. Ari Matisyo with $1,000. Really, share this on your statuses. Share this with your friends. Encourage people to give. We can really do this. We can reach our goal. Hanan and Shoshana Knox in memory of Yudi Dukes with $10,000. Aryeh Fried in honor of the great work of JNet for $5,000. Dr. Silwin and Cheryl Spangenthal, Yudi's in-laws, have been there with Yudi throughout when he was running JNet, and again stepped up to the plate with $10,000 on this campaign. A huge, huge thank you to them, to the entire community in North Carolina who's coming forth. Yosef Levitt with $1,900. Andrew Litwin with $500. Aaron Yaakov Lev with $500. And I see the names scrolling across. Please, everybody, take a minute, make a donation, give a little bit more than you could. Let's make this a reality. Back to you.
Thank you, Rabbi Kotlarski. It's good to see the momentum is picking up, and Mitzvah Hashem will get there. I want to introduce our next guest in my next interview, a chavrusa, Mr. Jordan Rockowitz from Fairlawn, New Jersey.
Good evening.
How are you, Jordan? Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here.
Okay, great. So, let's get right into it. Tell me, how did you get involved with JNet?
Great question. About 3 years ago, I delved more deeply into Hasidus. I come from a secular background, but been studying Hasidus for about 5 years at that point. And I have a reputation for being a decent teacher in the secular world. So I figured, the Rabbi said, if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. I know, a number of people have said that already this evening. But I took that to heart, and I figured, well, if I know Aleph, I'll try and give over Aleph. So I contacted JNet through my rabbi in Phoenix, Arizona, Yossi Brisky, and I had my first chavrusa with a gentleman in Philadelphia.
Wow, it's amazing. So you're the one teaching on that chavrusa with the gentleman in Philadelphia.
I feel a little uncomfortable saying that I was teaching anything related to this, but yes, I was.
Amazing, amazing.
Yes.
Wow. So what kind of a relationship? How long have you been learning with this gentleman?
Well, now I'm actually learning. That was a fairly short-lived experience, but I've been learning with chavrusa in Las Vegas, Nevada, Wayne Krieger, a tremendous individual, for the last year and a half since the pandemic, and it's been going incredibly well.
Amazing. And tell us a little bit about the scope of the relationship that's been created. I would imagine, is it only limited to learning, or does it foray into other things?
No, I mean, it was actually formed out of, unfortunately, a very difficult situation regarding the pandemic. I just lost my father-in-law and an uncle within 2 weeks. I'm sure like a lot of other people have gone through tragedy here. And I sort of looked at the situation and said, well, I know that a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness. What would the Rebbe expect from me in a situation like this? And I reached out to JNet and felt, well, listen, I've got some kind of background in teaching Tanya and feel comfortable teaching on a more fundamental level, not necessarily getting into the more granular aspect of it. And I found a very willing partner, a very hungry, very driven, very motivated guy. And that relationship has really taken off into much more, not just of a chavrusa, but very much of a friendship, and sort of going through each other's challenges that we're going through right now, which is really one of the great byproducts of what we've been doing for the last year.
Wow, that's really special, able to create that sort of relationship. Now, Jordan, tell me what you can tell others about getting involved with JNet, from your own personal experience.
Well, I would just say that I have not experienced any other philosophy, mode of thought that is more attuned to the human condition than Hasidus, particularly Chabad Hasidus. And because that's the case, and because people are going through some very difficult times right now, this is a tremendous opportunity to be able to take this incredible gift that we've been given in the Tanya and to bring that out, push it out to people who don't have access to that. And it's life-altering. It changed my life. And there was nothing exceptional about my life, but it changed my life. And I would encourage anybody who is looking to be connected in a way that they have not been connected before, find a certain level of spirituality that they have not found before, to be able to connect with JNet, to find a chavrusa, and to start that road, that exploration. Because where it goes, nobody knows. But I will tell you that it's just been an amazing, eye-opening, soul-enriching experience for me.
Wow. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much. At this point, if anybody else wants to join Jordan and sign up themselves, jnet.org/learn or jnet.org/volunteer. Jordan is one of many such chavrusas, teachers. Please turn your attention to the screen to hear firsthand from some other chavrusas around the world.
I'm from Singapore originally. We grew up knowing we were Jewish, very proud that we were Jewish. Eventually, I made my way around the world, Israel, America. And one day I walked out of 770, and there's this huge box on the corner that says, we're starting a new initiative and we need volunteers.
I was born in Gomel, Belarus. I didn't know anything about being Jewish. I currently live in Marine Park. I came here almost 30 years ago. One time I visited the Ochel. I was just looking through the information there and I saw this opportunity, and actually I was thinking about learning Tanya, and I signed up for JNet, so they connected me to Chavrusa.
And now we've started Tanya and we're up to chapter 7. And it's amazing because as much as Lana learned, and this is my 4th time teaching it, I think I've learned more than her.
I like asking her different questions, and sometimes questions are very provocative, something that I don't understand or something I disagree. She has a lot of patience, so she explains to me and gives me another perspective. She's not only my learning partner, she's also my mentor, and she's my friend. And anytime I need advice or support, she's there for me.
Lana and I both went through a very rough period recently. I lost my mother, and then she lost her mother. And when you go through something like that, it's an emotional upheaval. Learning, even for a few minutes, was very nurturing for us. To know that Hashem is there, looking down at us, playing in the mud, saying, that's my favorite child. I love her. I will do anything for her. That's the relationship that I think Lana and myself have developed towards Hashem over the past, 5-6 years.
talking to my mashpia, and he told me that I really should start learning with more people. Literally the next day, I got a WhatsApp message from a number I did not recognize, and the message was, would you like to set up a chavrusa through JNet? Within a week or two, I was paired up with this amazing guy named Greg Edgel, who I've never met.
He and I study weekly, and we always start with some Parsha, and more times than not, we digress into a kind of bird's eye view of what it is to be an adult who's Jewish, living in a complicated political landscape, in a social landscape, and what it means to take the roots of Judaism, ethics, philosophy, to manifest that into just day-to-day practices.
There always seems to be something that we touch on that inspires both of us. Not too long ago, we were learning, and he was in the car driving with his fiancée, and we were chatting about the meaning of God in our own life. Not just godliness in the religious experience, but godliness in the human experience. When you see the sunset, when you see a rainbow, when you go to the beach and you see the crashing waves, being able to experience and acknowledge that God is in that moment is something very profound.
And that was one of the greatest things, just the accidental experience of sharing Torah study with my fiance, who in her own right has also been studying with someone through JNet as well. But it's the idea that anybody can pick up a book and just experience a tiny little piece of what people have been feeling and dying for and living for thousands of years.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome our next guest, the current director of JNet, Rabbi Mendel Groner. Welcome.
Thank you, Arla.
So, we've all been hearing the whole night about JNet and about the incredible things that I've been doing. Tell us a little bit about how JNet has been growing over the past year.
Thank you, Arla. So, Baruch Hashem, JNet has seen tremendous growth this past year. We've set up over 500 chavrusas just in 2021, with all the hardships, with all the suffering that people have been going through. One of the amazing things actually about the pandemic, with all the unfortunate parts to it, this is actually the best setting for chavrusa learning on the phone. So we have been seeing people that they call us that their shul has closed down, or that they've been isolated and they have no one to turn to, and they turn to us, and Baruch Hashem, we're able to set them up with a chavrusa and lift them up physically and spiritually as well. Regarding things that we've been pushing, well, there's these 3 projects that everybody here is helping us create, with Hashem. But if you Baruch Hashem, the past year we've had tremendous new things being done. We have, first of all, our social media has been taking off. We have a very, very active Instagram page, Baruch Hashem. We have chavrusas from all over the world that when they either sending us photos of them learning with the chavrusas, or when they have a chance to meet up in person with the chavrusas, they send us a picture. We have a newsletter that goes out every month, which was completely redesigned, completely revamped. And our biggest thing that we did was we have a lot of times people, they don't know what to learn. They call us, they say, I want to learn, I know I can feel, and Shama wants, and it needs that bit of Eibishter in its life. It needs a little bit of godliness. But where do I turn? What do I start with? So that is one of the projects we're working on to create together with JLI. Thank you, Arla. Shout out. We're going to be creating new curriculums, but until those are ready, with everyone here's help and everybody watching live, we have culled from all over the internet, from all over different sources, a resource page. So if someone wants to learn Gemara, someone wants to learn Chumash, someone wants to learn anything in the whole Yiddishkeit, basically, Chassidus, Nigla, want to learn how to read Hebrew. Everything you want, we have the resources on the website. We also have, thank God, thanks to some very close friends of Yudi and some close friends of JNet, we have been able to give out over 100 Tanyas. In only a few months, we gave out over 100 Tanyas to chavrusas that wanted to learn Tanya. there shouldn't be any obstacle. Someone wants to learn, they call us, they get everything they need. They get a chavrusa, they get...
So you're sending out physical copies?
Physical hard copies of Tanyas. And other Sfarim we've been able to get discounted, and Mir Hashem more on the way. So Baruch Hashem, we've seen tremendous growth, and we're gonna keep growing.
Wow. Let me know which books I can get. So tell me, Mendel, I'm sure you see so many different stories sitting at your desk. Can you share with us something that was particularly inspiring to you personally?
So there's a lot of stories. Baruch Hashem, I was in the coordinator role for a long time. Because a couple of things come to mind. First of all, there's a Yid. He lives in Oregon, in a town that is very, very small. Probably only 3,000-4,000 people live in this whole entire town. There's no synagogue. Forget Chabad. There's no anyone in the area. No Jewish presence. His closest shul is a 4-hour drive.
Wow.
And he called us and he wanted to get set up as a chavrusa, which we did. And then as I'm speaking with him, I asked him if he has a pair of tefillin, which he didn't have, I asked him, would you have a pair of tefillin, would you put on a pair of tefillin if you had one? He said, yeah, of course. And within a week, we had gotten him a pair of tefillin, and he sends me pictures, regularly of him putting on the tefillin, of him learning the chavrusa. So that was a very, very touching thing that happened. Another very interesting story was, if you ever want to see a shachar pratis, take this job, because literally I get people that they sign up.
I'm sure you see it every day, right?
They sign up and they sit there and we're looking for a chavrusa, we can't find them a match, and then another guy signs up and boom, like straight away, it's mamish amazing. Anyway, so we had a guy. He signed up. He lives in Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia, and he signs up and he wants to learn the chavrusa. So we put him on the list. And then a couple of days later, another guy signs up from Alpharetta, Georgia, to be to volunteer. So I actually had known these people because I actually had met them before, which was another whole story. But I called them up and said, "Listen, you guys live in the same neighborhood. Why don't you guys learn in person?" So that was the first live chavrusa that I set up.
Wow. Okay. Well, God willing, when we complete our goals, we'll be able to facilitate chavrusas in Georgia, the country. Mirza Hashem.
Yeah. We actually have. One of the volunteers here who learns with someone in Brighton Beach in Russian, and Baruch Hashem,
So you're bringing Georgia here. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mendel, very much. I see, Baruch Hashem, the bar is moving up. We still have a long way to go, so everyone please, on Yudi's legacy, go and donate. Keep us getting closer and inching closer to our goal. Seems like Mendel's itching to share with us one more point, please.
I just want to say two short nukudas. One thing about Torah learning, which is that the Friedrich Rebbe says that when a person learns Torah, it doesn't only transform them, which is 100% true. Everybody should take a chavrusa because it will transform your life. It will transform your life in every single way. You'll make more money, you'll have more joy, you'll have a better marriage, every single way. But it says, the Friedrich Rebbe writes, that when a person learns Torah, it affects, he gives off an energy that really affects everyone around him. His family, his work, everything he interacts with, it becomes much, much more Torah-oriented and much more holy. And another thing I wanted to say is that during World War II, when unfortunately many Jewish boys were being sent to the army and being sent to the front, and it was a very, very dangerous time, the Friedrich Rebbe wrote a letter, and he told the parents of these people that were in a physical danger that the number one way to protect your children is by supporting Torah learning. That's the number one way. So if that's the way it is in a physical sense, right, how much more so spiritually? If you want to protect your children, if you want to protect the Jewish nation, which we're all brothers, we're all sisters, the number one way is to support Torah learning.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi Groner. And Hatzlach in your position and catching up many more chavrusas and bringing Limud HaTorah to the entire world.
Thank you.
At this point, I think it's time for some more music. So please welcome back to the stage Benny Friedman and L.D. Marcus.
that you are truly there everywhere. Still in all, I cannot see you. Don't hide from me. It's been so long since last I saw you smile.
Don't hide from me. Where's the promise you would take my hand? Understand, life is not complete without you. Don't hide from me. I need to see you more than ever now.
2,000 years is a million years too long to search for the light that I have never known. Show me your face, I need your embrace. Won't you please come out of your hiding place?
Take me on your wings, teach me how to sing the one song the world wants to hear.
Don't hide from me. It seems you're hiding more and more each day. While I pray, I keep looking, you keep hiding. Oh, I feel so alone. I'm calling to you, Father, please come home.
Is a million years too long to search for the light that I have never known? Show me your face, I need your embrace. Won't you please come out of your hiding place? Take me on your wings,
Take me on your wings.
teach me how to sing the one song the world wants to hear.
God smiled in heaven, but his world was not complete. The angels were singing, but their song had no wings.
The world was freshly painted, yet the sky was feeling blue. Something just wasn't right. Then with you came a godly light that made the world complete. You gave the world its soul. You
gave the world its spark. Now God can call this place his home. For now there was you. For now there was you, my brother, oh my fellow Jew.
So with all my heart and soul, let me honor you. A gentle people with a faith of steel. You teach the world how to live and how to give and how to believe. If I could look into your heart, I would see the face of God.
You have weathered all the storms, they have all come and gone. Oh, you are the unsung heroes of the world. You were born of ancient days and you will go on and on. I've seen miracles before, but the greatest of them all is you, my fellow Jew. Who can count the teardrops that have fallen from your eyes? And who would dare to measure the pain that you have known? Yet here you are undaunted, with a mission and a dream. You carry on when hope is gone. All that you live for will come true.
And so when at times I'm feeling weak, it's you who makes me strong. And when at times I cannot speak, you become my song. Oh, I know I can do the impossible. When I think of you, when I think of you, my brother, oh, my fellow Jew.
So with all my heart and soul, let me honor you. A gentle people with a faith of steel. You teach the world how to live and how to give and how to believe. If I could look into your heart, I would see the face of God.
Oh, you have weathered all the storms, they've all come and gone. You are the unsung heroes of the world. And you were born of ancient days and you will go on and on. I've seen miracles before, but the greatest of them all is you, my fellow Jew.
Look inside through the heart of a Jew. open up its many doors. And the soul that you'll see there inside is a reflection of yours.
For each soul is a part of one whole that joins us to each other. We are all part of one another, and we have always been one.
We are one since the way back in time, unified at our start. We began as a nation to live and believe with one heart.
You and I, we were all gathered there as one. We said we'll do and hear. We were born to belong together and forever be one.
Forever one, we will go far. It's not I am, but who we are. We need just to reveal it. We need to try, all need to try and feel it.
Oh, and never are we alone. We have each other as our own. And nothing can divide us. Oh, for we are, yes, we are forever.
There are so many words that never are heard, and the feelings are lost at so great a cost. We try and we try as the time passes by, still the message is unclear.
Dream of a time where hearts singing around and our voices are heard like the song of a bird. Music will rise and over us in time. If we listen, we all can hear.
If I could write that special melody, if all the world could sing along with me, it's a very special kind of unity only music can bring.
It would be a song that everyone would know, and joy and happiness would start to show. It's always been right there inside our hearts, right from the start all along. It's our song, sing with me.
dream of a time when hearts sing in rhyme, where our voices are heard like the song of a bird. Music will rise and move us inside. If we listen, we all will hear. Let me try as time passes by, where our voices are like the song of a bird. The music will rise and move us inside. If we listen, we all will hear. If I could write that special melody, if all the world could sing along with me, there's a very special kind of unity only music can bring. It would be a song that everyone would know, and joy and happiness would start to show. It's always been right there inside our hearts, right from the start, all along. It's our song, sing with me. So schreiben als Anliegen, hat die ganze Welt soll kennen singen mit. Es wohl gebringt eine starke Einigkeit, eine Warmkeit von ein Lied, oh ja Lied. Der Kohl wird klingen auf der ganzen Welt, der wird jeder was ihm gefällt. Es wird bringen Schaden und eine Freilichkeit, eine Lichtigkeit vor dem Jid, oh wie geht, singt nur mit. One more time. ואם נוכל לכתוב לי ניגונים, והעולם איתי בשיר יעיר, צלילי השיר יכוללו פלאות, בכוחם לאחד לבבות. יהיה זה שיר אשר כולם יודעים, ולא חשוב מה פשר המילים, בלבבנו יתנגן תמיד, כל ערים ובוא ביחד נשיר. If I could write that special melody, if all the world could sing along with me, there's a very special kind of unity only music can bring. It would be a song that everyone would know, and joy and happiness would start to show. It's always been right there inside our hearts, right from the start all along. It's our song, sing with me.
Please welcome a shliach to the 5000, director of soulwords.org, Rabbi Shais Taub.
Okay. Ellie and Benny and Ellie. Ellie, where's Ellie? Are you wearing my tie? Baruch Hashem. Ellie, I gave Ellie one of my ties, and he wears it at special events. Two of the best people I know and two of the most talented people I know. Baruch Hashem. Applause for Ellie and Benny. And for the band, for the whole band. Applause. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend Yudi. And you have all heard so much about him, and we've all been affected by him. But I'll tell you my little perspective. It was a little over 4 years ago, and I see Reb Zalman, Rabbi Wallowik is here. He brought us out to be involved in the shiurim and the adult education in the Chabad house, in Chabad of the Five Towns. And I've known Yudi for a while. I knew him before I came to the Five Towns. But I was teaching in Beis Rivka Seminary here in Crown Heights, and I didn't really know my way around very well. The commute from the Five Towns to Crown Heights, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I ended up getting a ride every morning that I would go into Crown Heights. I would get a ride with Yudi and with the boys who were going with his boys who he was bringing to school, and those were very special times. Those rides from the Five Towns to Crown Heights. And during those rides, Yudi would always be speaking about JNet and about his vision, about how to get more people learning, how to involve more people, more chavrusas. I want to tell you something. I don't know if this is a trade secret that I'm not supposed to reveal, but I'll tell you anyway. Rabbis are like everybody else. Rabbis have jobs. And sometimes a rabbi's job, it's holy, but it's a job. So you can have a guy who he runs an organization to get people learning Torah, and that could just be his job. Doesn't necessarily mean that's his passion on his off hours. But I'm telling you something. Yudi was obsessed. It wasn't just a job. This is how he lived. This is what he breathed. To the extent, this is what I want to tell you, that I think maybe probably two or three drives went by before he said to me, it's nice verbringing, it's nice having a conversation in the car, but really we should use this time better. We got 45 minutes to an hour. We should be learning. So I'm telling you, that wasn't my idea. It wasn't something I suggested. I don't know if I would have even thought of it. So Yudi said, we got to use the time wisely. We got to learn. And what did we learn? We learned from the Mittler Rebbe, Shara Yichud, which is very deep Chassidus. We spoke about the Oimek and the Reichev and the deep stuff. And that was our drive. And I could tell that as much as Yudi wanted to speak about JNet and he wanted to speak about his vision for expanding his programs, but Torah is Torah. And if you have an opportunity to learn B'chavrusa, you don't waste it. You don't squander it. And that's what we did. We would learn Shara Yuchid from the Mittler Rebbe on those drives. And I'll tell you something. I think about Yudi for a strange reason, but I think about him almost every day. I don't know. I actually didn't tell anyone this, but at least every time that I drive to Crown Heights, and there's a specific spot where I think about Yudi. It's not just the whole drive. It's a specific spot. There's a spot when you're coming out of the Five Towns, and after you get into Queens and you pass JFK, and there's a place where you can veer off and get on the Belt Parkway, or you can stay to the right and you can go on Conduit Avenue. And so Yesh Bezeh, Masha Ein Bezeh, the mila of Conduit is it's a little less congested, but it's a slower speed limit. And the advantage of the Belt Parkway is it's a highway. You can go faster, but it's often congested. It's sometimes bumper to bumper. So every time we would come up to that fork in the road, Yudi would do this look, like he would look like 1,000 yards, and he would try to eye, and he would tell me this. He never used a GPS, by the way. I can only... Even if I'm driving in my neighborhood, I use a GPS because I have zero sense of direction. He never used a GPS, but he would eyeball it, and he would look, which looks better, Conduit or the Belt Parkway? And he would look, and then he would always choose it, whichever one, he would always choose the better one. And every time I come up to that spot, I always think about him, about what would Yudi choose right now? What would be the better conduit? The Belt Parkway. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about driving tips. I'll tell you, like Yudi would want, he would want us to learn Torah, so I'll tell you a Dvar Torah from the Parsha. This week's Parsha is B'Shalach. It says that the Jewish people were, after they had left Egypt, they were in the desert. And it says, V'yelchu shleishis yom b'midbar. They went 3 days in the desert. V'leimotz hamayim. And they didn't find water. They didn't find drinking water. And then it says, V'yavayu marasa. They came to a place called Mara. That was the name of the location. They couldn't drink the water there. They found water there, but they couldn't drink it. Because the waters were bitter. So the Medrash, the Mechilta, says a couple interesting things about this. It says, first of all, when they came to Mara and the waters were bitter, not only were the waters in Mara bitter, but if anyone had water in a canteen that he brought from another location, the waters in the canteen would be bitter too. Another thing the Medrash says is that the second before the Jews arrived in Mara, the water was fine. And only when they showed up, that's when it became bitter. So there's a Sikha Verbringen Chmishasu B'Shvat Tafshin Chof, where the Rebbe asks about this Medrash. Why was it that even the water in the canteens was bitter? Why was it that the water only got bitter the second they showed up? A second earlier it was fine. Another question, which is, and why was it after 3 days without water? Punkt, 3 days after water, lousy timing. All of a sudden, after 3 days without water, now the next water you find is bitter. So the Rebbe answers these questions based on a Torah from the Magid, the Mezritcha Magid, who learns the pasuk like this: They were not able to drink the water from Mara, ki marim heim, not because the mayim, the waters were bitter, ki marim heim, because they, the Jewish people, were bitter, and because they were bitter, the water tasted bitter to them. Explains the Rebbe, why were the waters tasting bitter to them? Because that's what happens. If you go 3 days without water, water is Torah. Torah is compared to water. Just like water goes from a high place to a low place, so too Torah is Chachmasei Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's divine wisdom, but it descends into language that we can all relate to. Everyone can learn Torah on their level. Everyone can relate to some aspect, to some level of Torah, whether it's Chassidus, or it's Halacha, or it's learning Rambam, or it's learning Chumash with Rashi, whatever it is, you can always relate to some level of Torah, because Torah is like water, it comes down. It comes down to the person on the level of human intellect, even though it remains divine wisdom. So water is Torah. So if you go 3 days without water, what happens? Everything tastes bitter. But let's flip it. Let's state it in the affirmative. When you make sure never to go too long without water, when you make sure never to go too long without a shir, without a Torah class, without a chavrusa, without a study partner, then your whole outlook on life is sweet. Could be the same exact situation, but a person who regularly learns Torah, the way he's going to look at the situation is sweet. I saw this with Yudi. Two things that went hand in hand. Constantly learning Torah, and not just learning, but kviyas itim la Torah, having set times, not wasting a minute. A commute to Crown Heights became another chavrusa, like I told you, with me. So that was one aspect, constantly using every opportunity for another class and another class. And the other thing that goes hand in hand, Yudi had a sweet outlook on life. He saw beauty. He saw goodness. Like Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, the wisest of all men, said, that we have to take it to heart, we have to learn something from those who have departed. Tonight is a night about Yudi's legacy, his living legacy, his enduring legacy. How can we live like Yudi and live with Yudi? Two things. Never let too long go by without a set time for Torah, and have a sweet outlook on life. And if you're Jewish and you like a bargain, I got good news for you. Those two things go hand in hand. You do one of them, you got the other. If you make sure that you're always learning, and who among us couldn't take our commitment to Torah study more seriously? Every one of us on our own level knows that we could, like Yudi, you could squeeze in another chavrusa. And if we can squeeze in a little bit more learning, then we can squeeze in a little bit more of a sweet outlook on life. So here's what I want to suggest to you all. We're on a road right now, and we know where that road leads us. There's only one end to this story, and that's the Geula Shlema, the complete, true redemption through Mashiach. That's for sure. We're heading to Mashiach. The question is, how long is it going to take? And we look in front of us, and we see a couple of different paths. You have the Belt Parkway, you have Conduit Avenue, and you're trying to figure out what's going to get us to our destination faster. Yudi had a vision. He was constantly talking about it. And the only thing that made him stop talking about his vision of getting every single Jew to study Torah together, the only thing that let him put a pause discussing that vision, at least in the times that he spent with me, the only thing he paused discussing his vision of getting everyone to learn together for was to actually sit and learn together. We can accomplish that vision. Tonight's our opportunity to participate, to commit to the fundraising goal of tonight. Don't forget, it's a fundraiser. To keep the vital work of JNet going, to get more and more Jews learning together and committing their time to studying Torah and not allowing days to go by without Torah. And also we can commit ourselves, we can commit our time. Another chavrusa, and maybe you have a commute in the car that you thought was just downtime. Maybe that time, can become another time for another study partner. You find somebody who's commuting the same time as you. Call JNet. They'll arrange it for you. And that's the quick path. The path to the goal. The path to realizing Yudi's vision. The straight path, the fast path, is that each of us should live a little bit like the way that we saw Yudi live. And I'll tell you one more thing. When it was time to sweeten that water, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, take a piece of wood, an eitz, and throw it in the water. Why did he throw an eitz, a piece of wood, in the water? Eitz chayim hi lemachazikim ba, because Torah is called an eitz chayim, to hold fast to. It's called a tree of life. And it was a piece. What does that mean? Don't let perfectionism be the enemy of making good use of 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. When it comes to the Eitz Chaim, when it comes to the tree of life, when it comes to the Torah, all you need is a piece. You can find a chavrusa for another 15 minutes. So take 15 minutes, even a piece. And if we'll keep on grabbing, like Yudi grabbed every opportunity to learn together, to learn with another Jew and another Jew and another Jew, then we're going to see the sweetness of life. We're going to have a positive outlook on life. And we're going to take the fast track to realizing that vision. And we're all going to see, for real, with Mashiach, that life is good and life is sweet.
Just what to do when faced with a challenge. You always come through, and you've painted a smile on the face of a child, helping to make sure that his dreams come true. There's a small piece of heaven in everyone's heart, a glorious gift from above. It will sparkle and shine if we each do our part to reach out and touch it with love. So there, in everyone's heart, a glorious gift from above. It will sparkle and shine if we each do our part to reach out and touch it with love. Your share for the gift of bright sunshine and fresh country air. But although that's a fact, you've done much more than that. You've shown these dear children just how much you care. There's a small piece of heaven in everyone's heart, a glorious gift from above. It will sparkle and shine if we each do our part to reach out and touch it with love. There's a small piece of heaven in everyone's heart, the glorious gift from above. It will sparkle and shine if we each do our part to reach out and touch it with love. Big hand for the band tonight, South Band, doing an excellent job. despair surrounds your heart. Disillusion with life, your face imparts. You are wandering in a world of confusion. Reality is hidden behind the web of illusion. So my brother, put your faith in the above. Say, lady, I am ready to serve you with love. The truth lies at the end of a forest fence. Your soul is your compass, your spiritual sense. Then lead you along the right road, and let the words of the Torah be your navigational code. So my brother, oh, put your faith in the above. Say, lady, I am ready to serve you with love. Put your faith in the above. Say, lady, I am ready to serve you with love. Sit in darkness, remembering the light of the face I'll make the standing. Oh, my Father's delight, I'm just a son yearning, a child who is returning to my Father's embrace, to the Shekhinah HaKadosh's face. I don't want to think, I'd rather pray and sing. Tell the story of your holiness and glory. I don't want to think, I'd rather pray and sing now and try to tell the story of your holiness and glory. Face away, you just left me in despair. Commandments I didn't obey. I know it's not unfair, but Father, please turn back. Now I know your Torah is right. Please give me the strength that I lack in the Yahrtzeit of us fight. I don't want to think, I'd rather pray and sing. Trying to tell the story of your holy innocent love. I don't need a thing, I don't need a thing. I'd rather pray and sing. I'm trying to tell the story of your holy innocent love.
Good evening. I had hoped to have been there in person, but for reasons that are beyond my control, I am sending this video in love and appreciation of the life of Rabbi Yudi Dukes. The Rebbe, upon accepting the Nesius, began with a statement, Ozel lekarte ovet kinimusen. which basically translates, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And the Rebbe's statement was that there are three loves. There's Avos Hashem, Avos HaTorah, and Avos Yisrael. If someone says he has one of them and doesn't have the others, or has two of them and doesn't have the third, he has none of them. Yudi, who was a very dear friend, lived all three of them and then some more. His Avos Hashem, his Yiras Shamayim, his dedicating his life to disseminating the Eibishter's will, his iskashrus to the Rebbe, his love for everything that the Eibishter wants and wanted from him, and his love for what the Rebbe wanted from him, brings us to his Avos HaTorah. He has taken JNet to a level unprecedented. He lived JNet. He lived this Avos HaTorah, wanted everyone to feel and see the beauty of learning Hashem's Torah. And the achlota that we would make this evening is to expand JNet, to build the technology that goes with it, to see that everyone that is a volunteer has everything that he needs, and not only to double, but to triple and quadruple the JNet empire. And this brings us to the third love that the Rebbe spoke about, to his Avos Yisrael. His Avos Yisrael was boundless. But in the Avos Yisrael, he had a special place and a special niche for his family, for his wife Sarah, and for his beautiful kinderlach. It mattered to him more than anything that they should go in the ways of their forefathers, in the direction in which the Rebbe taught us. That was his Avos Yisrael to everyone, but especially to his beautiful family, that he dedicated so much time and so much effort into seeing that they go b'derech hayosher, that their hiskashrus was a hiskashrus amiti, was a true hiskashrus to the Rebbe and everything that the Rebbe stood for. Yudi used to send me love notes. After every kinnis, after every major thing in his life, he would write to me how grateful he is that he's a shliach of the Rebbe, how grateful he is that he is part of the Rebbe's army in bringing Yiddishkeit to the masses. So tonight, we pledge that which the Rebbe began his Nesias with that statement of Avos Hashem, Avos HaTorah, Avos Yisrael, and what the Rebbe speaks about in the Hayom Yom, in which he says that every person should a half hour every day think about his children. Yudi's life was his children. Yudi's life was that his family should go in the ways of Hashem, in a chassidish way. And as we stand on the threshold of Yud Shvat, we rededicate ourselves to that mission which the Rebbe gave us. And more than that, to the mission and the example which Yudi set. May the Almighty keep on comforting his Eishes Chayil Sarah, who was so dedicated and devoted to him. His parents, so Mrs. Dukes, his father-in-law, Mother Dr. and Mrs. Spagenthal, and above all his wife and his children, that they should realize and internalize the mission which he has, and the mission which matters so much to him, that JNet should grow, JNet should expand, and whatever anyone can do for the furtherance of his memory will be a schus for him in Shamayim, that he will go mechayel el chayel, together in the Rebbe's presence, and be a beacon of light to all of us here, forever and ever. Tei nishmasei tzrura b'tzrut hachayim, and may JNet really be what he wanted it to be and what his dream was, and we should really see the benefits of everything that he put forth in his life.
Thank you, Rabbi Kotlarski. And now I want to welcome back Rabbi Mendy Kotlarski to give us an update of where we're holding, and special thanks to those who deserve it.
Really, it's so heartwarming, and I'm sitting over here with the Dukes family, and there's large donations, there's small donations, there's meaningful donations. Really, every donation is so important and sends such a strong message to Yudi's family and to his friends that we're going to do this. And if you would see the smile on the faces, recognizing how much this means to Yudi today where he is looking down. So I just want to start with a very meaningful gift from Yudi's parents. Aaron and Hinda Dukes are giving $1,000 to fulfill Yudi's dreams for JNet. That is huge. We really, really appreciate it. I want to take a moment to also recognize and remember Rabbi Zushel Wilhelm, Alav Shalom, who just passed away, that so many of his Talmidim are JNet volunteers, are really people that give of their time to teach in JNet, and his family are close friends of the JNet institution. So we're going to take a moment to remember him over here. To all of the anonymous donors, there's anonymous in memory of Yudi for $10,000, for $5,000, for $3,600, for $100, for $18. Mr. Anonymous, we love you, and please don't stop. Really, really, we really appreciate it.
I'll let him know.
Yeah. Dudi Farkash for $770, but he shared with me a thought before this program. He said his grandfather in the Holocaust said, how did he make it through? He said, Lule Sayrascha Shashui Azavadati Bani. If I didn't have people to share Torah with every day, I met someone and I shared Torah, that's what gave me the strength to make it through. And the truth is, through Corona, people are alone at home. They have no friends, they have no community, they have no social life. You don't realize that by donating to JNet, besides for the Lulei Sayrascha, supporting the Torah and everything that goes along with it, is Azavadati. There are so many lives that you're saving. Begashmias, the support, the feedback that we're getting. So please, do me a favor, do us a favor, do JNet a favor, make a donation, share this with your friends. We really cannot do this without you. It's amazing. We're almost at $165,000, which is huge, but we have a long way to go. I'm just going to read through Alan Sussman, $1,000. David Hamami, $1,200. Gershon Ackerman, $360. Ian Finkelstein, $360. Levi Egghouse, a close friend of JNet and the Dukes family, $3,600. The Dornbush family, Sarah Dornbush, who's been a friend of JNet for a very long time, $10,000. This Akiva and Avital Stone, we will always have a heartwarming memories of Yudi for dancing at our wedding. There are no words to describe how beautiful Yudi is. $1,800. Javier Marcel, $18,000. David and Alan and Elaine Epstein, $1,000. The Fajas family, $5,000. Pearl Groner, $1,000. $360 from Nussin and Gitti Sternberg, from Stefan Jackster, Mendy and Temakone, Arik Adami, $260. David Spangenthal, $500. Really, please, this Torah has really what's kept the Jewish people around. It's important. Everybody who needs help in any way, there are so many important institutions, but really, take a moment and think about the impact you're having over here. How many thousands of hours of Torah are going to be learned in your schus because you are a part of JNet. Daniel Lorch, $500 in honor of his chavrusa, the Sachs family from the Five Towns, $1,000. This is so, so meaningful to all of us over here. So Arla, and to everybody over here, really, this, this is not just a shout out. You can obviously go online and you can see, but Mitzvah Lefarsa Moisa Mitzvah, Shimon Liani, $3,600, Yigal Yazov, $1,800. There's just so many of the JNet friends and family that are stepping up, but today we need to reach deeper. We need people to create teams. Everybody who's watching this can go to Yudi'sLegacy.com, and there's a plus button. Add a team, whether you can raise $1,000, $500, or $25,000. This is really what's going to keep Yudi's dream alive.
Thank you, Rabbi Kudlarski. You did a wonderful job reading all those names. And Mitzvah Hashem, we have a lot more to read out. At this point, we're going to call upon the stage for another musical set to keep us all entertained and to give you a chance to go online at Yudi'sLegacy.com and punch in your donation that you weren't able to do while you were enthralled with Rabbi Kudlarski's announcements. Again, Yudi'sLegacy.com. Punch in your donation as you enjoy the next music.
Very interesting Hashgacha Pratis here tonight. Our band leader, Shlomi, got engaged a couple of years ago, and I met Yudi at the engagement party. Baruch Hashem, he's married, he has twins. And at that engagement, at that L'chaim, Yudi recruited me onto JNet. A couple of weeks later, I was set up with a chavrusa. So thank you for that schus. Thanks to Shlomi for the schus. But as we saw in the video, Yudi loved nigunim. He loved to teach nigunim. He loved to share nigunim. So we have a special opportunity to sing this next nigun together with Yudi.
Oy na ra ya 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 na ma na ay na ma da ya oy na
Yeah.
Gora getraye ein Liebschaft zu uns ist doch eine Schale noch mehr von dem sagt der Heilige Bausche als jener ist bei dir aber Yochi
Seine Mirine Golos in a Viste nicht. Du mir deine Kinder lachen bei dir. Ja, wie du Rachim Oleinu mit dein Ben-Yochid Beidot gewalt at you. Hoi will ich dich, hoi wie sie ist dann gewählt, wie der lebt mit noch einmal, ich seh. Wenn schon und ich gehe, und dann sein Brot, bevor ich euch mache, akelle und wenn ich höre nicht mehr, rein uns los, wie ich bin da wie danke, wenn ich nicht komme, ich weiß mich das schon, jeden Schabes, und euch Leute, Stachweiß bewohnecho es wird sein, wenn nie lang Gebäude Hashem alle Welt dienen nicht.
Hilf von was Schäfer, will mir da reden. Und erzählen von jene Frieden. Freizach alle tanzt und gewählt, es kommt die Teure auf der Welt.
Der war Schäfer von der Welt, der größer Bäuere. Sucht nach Kosten von seiner Tochter, die heilige Teure. Freizach alle tanzt und gewählt, alle Völker von der Welt.
Der Beschäfer fragt bei die Völker alle, wer will die Teure Fahrakalle? Die Völker fragen, ei was und ne wenn, man will nicht sterben, man will nicht sehen. Fahr was, fahr wenn. Lass mich sehen, was ist geschehen.
Dieser Malach mit die Teure von Himmel marrocken und mit Fliegen kein Europe. Und kein Russland gekommen ist und gefragt, so weil diese wer.
So mit zu im Charasho, so tun was Pajalos. Sogt sie der Malach, dem ersten Gebot. Und neu ich bin eier Gott.
Sagen sie, nee, halt es allein. Ihr wisst nicht, wohin zu gehen. Wir haben gelernt bei der Tat es allein. Na so wie bei uns ist schön.
Nee, halt es allein. Wir haben einander nein. Escher Blut in Deutschland ging. Escher wird man nicht verstehen.
Der Malach geflogen gleich an hin und ist gekommen. Der Meister und fragt so bei uns wer.
Sagen sie mir seine Gerät, sagen sie der Wahrheit und was da steht. Sagt sie der Mama, Leute ihr Zeit. Heute ist nicht geschehen, sagt.
Nein, sagen sie, nee, halt es allein. Ihr wisst nicht mein Herr, wohin zu gehen. Wir haben gelernt bei die Vater allein. Was heute darf man das nicht. Der Malach geflogen weiter, bis ist gekommen, kein Paris. Die Franzosen, die Teure weiß der und fragt so bei uns wer.
Sagen sie, s'il vous plaît. So zei der Malach, zu war stehen. Der Familie lebt darf sein Ring. Nein, sagen sie, nee, halt es allein.
Wisst nicht, Mission, wohin zu gehen. Wir haben gelernt bei die Tat es allein. Na so wie bei uns ist schön. Nee, halt es allein. Wir haben einander mein. Herrscher prüft kein England ging. Herrscher wird mir nicht verstehen.
Allah geflogen weiter im Weg. Kommt kein Land neu von der Welt. Und die Engländer, die Teure weiß der. Und fragt so am Haus wer.
Sagen sie, thank you, sir. Weiß nur ein Gesetz ahead. Sucht sie der Malach, Lois Achim Loit. Ihr sollt nicht glusten, was jener hat.
Sagen sie, nein, halt es allein. Ihr weißt nicht, Mister, wohin zu gehen. Wir haben gelernt bei der Tate Saal. Als glusten, dann mehr was mehr. She proved in America again. We have she got the night fast.
Der Malach geflogen weiter wie so, und ist gekommen in die Keime von New York. Die Amerikaner, die Teure weiß der und fragt so bei uns wer.
Sagen sie, thank you fine. Was war a business, was war a line. Sagt sie der Malach, hört mit Kohl. Covid hat der Name Gitto.
I sagen sie, hey, halt es allein. Wir geben up Covid mit der Jugend allein. Fahr die Ältere genug ist, fahr sie. Der his Mother's Day. Nee, halt es alle, mir oben aneinander nehmen. Efter Flug zu die Araber gehen, efter wird mir ein Fall stehen. Die Araber, die Teile weiß der und frett, weil sie weg. So sie, gut mabsut, weiß nur früher was nicht gut. Weiß auch der Malach, nicht Kanze und nicht Block. So sie den alten Salle, die weiß nicht, habe ich alle umzugehen. Hier hat die Lehrer bei der Tate Salle. Gaben en dars me was nee, alles alle, wir oben aneinander nee. Efter Proof zu die Jiden geht, efter wird man ein Fall stehen. In der Mitte weg, Allah steht, es wird der Ayid am Schulach. Der Tal ist Gott, ein Gumreik, Gott, der ist nicht der Frey. Die Tore hat der Ränder Land und der Meschulach hat Bach. Ein Mor sagt der Hals am Weg, gibt bei Harisi. In der Korn die Teure mit der beide seine die besten Frauen Hose beide frei in eine Beure Leute und kein Sechston kann nicht Covid hat der Name und der heilige Schabes wie der Malachot des der Herr hat sich zurückgekehrt und die sagt mit dem Himmel als die Teure Zeugen beste Messiah,
Benny Friedman.
Opa, Eli Marquez, essa coisa.
Wow, how powerful, how special. Thank you, Benny and Ellie, for such a special evening. As the launch of this campaign comes to a close, the campaign is really just beginning. Yudi's sister just told me that Yudi would always say, there's two types of people in the world. There are those who volunteer and teach for JNet, and there are those who donate and support JNet. You can be one, you can be both, but please, please, make that commitment tonight. We're literally inching up, Baruch Hashem, at $200,000. It's amazing how generous everybody has been. But again, we have 21 hours left to this campaign. We have a goal, and we need to reach that goal. I want to give a shout out to the teams, to all of the America's 302 colleagues of Yudi, the Sweet 302, who took individual goals, and those who took the general goals, Yudi's friends, the JNet students and the JNet volunteers, Sarah's friends, in general, people who just stepped up to the plate and through this evening went and clicked and added a team. Really, each and every one of you are making this campaign successful in what it is. I just saw a letter where the Rebbe responds to a lady who lost her husband. And she asks the Rebbe, she wants to do something in memory of her husband. Should she build a building? Should she write a Sefer Torah? And the Rebbe takes the initiative and says, if you're asking me my advice and my opinion, there's something even greater, and that is to support those who are learning Torah. Over here, you're not only supporting those who are learning Torah, you're enabling, you're creating people who wouldn't have the opportunity to learn. You're taking people who you're literally helping them pull away from the hustle and bustle of the world, from their business, and dedicate time to volunteer. You're taking people who are searching and learning, looking to learn, who don't go to classes, and giving them the opportunity to connect and to study. There is no greater tzedakah, tomcha d'oraisa, than getting involved now. Reach out to your friends. Amir Hashem, over the next 21 hours, we're going to launch some exciting initiatives and exciting opportunities. So keep looking back at yudislegacy.com. Find a team that you want to be a part of. Really a shout out to some of the donations that I see coming in right now. Benjamin Levin for $5,000, Ira Lipinson for $1,800. There are so many of these donations coming in at the end, but really this is just the beginning of the campaign, and we cannot do it without you. So please take this heartfelt request on behalf of JNet, the Jewish Learning Network, on behalf of America's 302 and America's Leoni Chinuch, and more importantly on behalf of Sarah and the family and the Dukes family, to keep Yudi's legacy and dream and vision going. Only you can make this happen. Arla?
Thank you, Rabbi Kudlarski, for that update. And before we close out this incredible and inspiring evening, just have a couple thank yous to go through for all the wonderful people who made this evening possible. I want to thank the producer, Shneir Najjar, program director, David Weinbaum, the videos from Beryl Groner, the music from with the Zaltz Band, LED and lighting, Zikron Digital, the filming and ticker, Shamai Chaim from 321 Motion, the broadcasting live this entire time, Chabad.org, the design, Mendy Druckman and Nachum Shapiro, the PR, Mendy Lefkivker, stage manager, Chaim Zippel, VJ and multimedia, Chaim Vaknin and Shmulik Ben Harush, Visual Live, the sound, Chesky Levy, catering from Mendy's, photographers, Yitzi Reutman, and writers, Ellie Black and Rabbi Moshe Greenwald. A very special thanks to a couple special people, Rabbi Shmuley Rothman, Rabbi Menachem Posner, Rabbi Ben Zion Groner, Rabbi Shais Taub, Rabbi Rebbitzin Volovic, JLI, Rabbi Ephraim Mintz, and of course, Mrs. Sarah Dukes, Ms. Musi Dubov, Mrs. Hinda Dukes, and Mrs. Chava Witkes. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.